heathens, and welcome to my channel. I am Beauty Heathen, and my channel is dedicated to the exploration of paganism through the medium of cosmetics. If you enjoy this subject matter or find my content of interest, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and set the bell to all to be notified of when I upload new videos. In today's episode, we will be finalizing the exploration of Siberian Shamanism by delving into the shamanistic forms that became part of the North and South American territories, as well as Scandinavia. These forms are known as Paleo-Indian and Fasna shamanism. In the previous episode, I did a brief overview of Siberian Shamanism. Well, as brief as I could make it, given that I was exploring many Asian shamanistic forms under the one umbrella. And its hold on nomadic tribes, as well as its effect on Asian culture, spirituality, and religion. I'm using the LA Girl Pro CoverGirl. I have it in all the shades that they had available in Toast. And as much as I love the coverage of this foundation, I'm not going to lie, cleaning it off of these heads and getting it especially off of brushes and the beauty blenders is not an easy feat. Pardon the clink of the quick clean for my brushes. Around 12,500 BC, during the Ice Age, there was actually a bridge of land and ice connecting the Eurasian continent to Alaska and even far beyond that. It was called the Bering Land Bridge, which, given that the area, the oceanic territory between, I believe it's Russian coast and Alaskan coast, if I recall, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is called the Bering Sea. Now, one thing to note about this is that during the Ice Age, sea levels were a lot lower than they are today. So currently that land is underwater. If the sea levels were to drop again and we were to go into another ice age, it would be likely that that bridge would pop back up to the surface again. And although it was very long and tedious, especially given that they were traveling over ice, dealing with glaciers, all that kind of fun stuff, it still made traveling easier between the continents than it is today. Today we're, of course, reliant on planes and ships in order to cross the oceans to get to the other continents. Back during this time, that wasn't the case. As far as records are found, the two predominant tribes that made their way over during that time were the Yupik tribe, which populated the southwest coast of Alaska, and the Inuit tribe, which migrated to the north of Alaska and east of Greenland. So the two tribes, we'll just say that the Inuits traveled a lot further than their Yupik brothers and sisters. And if I am mispronouncing that, please forgive me. I'm not trying to cause any offense. And actually, in the research that I found, I'm just trying to let the foundation dry a bit. A few thousand years before those two tribal groups made their way over to the Americas and Greenland, there was another tribal community which migrated over from Siberia, and they traveled further south and became one of the two founding groups of Native American communities in North and South American continents. The other founding tribal community that makes up those two founding communities is actually more closely related to those of the Aborigines, New Guineans, and those of the Andaman Islanders than to any present-day Eurasians or other Native American groups. So when you're talking about the migration, when you're talking about genetic DNA and everything of that nature, and I know this may not have a huge hold on the paganism aspect, but it kind of does, because those two groups carried over their own sets of belief systems, cultures, beliefs, and shamanistic practices that the first group of that became Native Americans to here are actually more closely related to people in Asia than they are to the other group that traveled from the Aboriginal side. And I just found that really fascinating, that how far our genetic makeup and our DNA affects not just, how we spread throughout the world, but how we continue to be interconnected with one another even to this day. Forgive me, I'm a bit of a anthropological nerd, I guess you could say. Especially when it comes to tracing lineages and ancestry. I just find it very, very fascinating. So, all in all, Native Americans, all present-day Native Americans, are descendants of one mass migration wave that swept over the continents, and those who migrated here are from the same general populace of people who also went on to populate various territories in Asia and Europe. The people from the same location and time period in human history evolved into such different people today, from language to culture to racial identity. And that's just something that I can't help but be absolutely fascinated by, that the land and our environments shaped us and caused us to change from one another so much. And in contrast to the migration patterns of the previous groups I mentioned, but around the same time frame in human history, yet another tribal community migrated from west. So instead of these tribal communities that all migrated east to head to the Americas, we had another one that traveled west, and they went on to settle in the Scandinavian territories of Norway, Finland, and Sweden. This group is called the Kamsa, Komsa. And each of these groups originally practiced some form of Siberian shamanism. And, of course, carrying those united belief systems and seeing how they evolved into the various forms that we have today. Sorry, I know I'm probably being very redundant, but I find it very interesting. I'm trying to do a tribal inspired look that I did see based on the Siberian shamans, but the pigment isn't coming out as well as I would like. I will do my best. That's all I can do, right? Let's see. And from these two enmassed migration waves evolved the Paleo-Indian Shamanism and the Fasna Shamanism groups. Fasna Shamanism were the ones that went to settle in Scandinavia. Paleo-Indian were the ones that migrated to the North and South territories. North and South American territories. Sorry. Unfortunately, there isn't a lot of information from Siberian shamanism as it pertains to that time frame. We just don't have the information between migration habits. Of course, like I said, it was the Ice Age, so with the melting of the ice, a lot of things that they may have carried were probably swept out to sea. I wouldn't have expected a lot of rock art from that time period because of the migration and everything that was happening, and again, ice. So this really, it's a short video because there's not really much I can give you in the beyond what I already have that has been information that we have already I have already discussed on the channel regarding their belief systems, their practices, and everything of that nature. If you didn't see the video before this one, I encourage you to check it out because I do discuss more of the cultural systems and aspects of shamanism. But because all of these communities basically came from the same group, it would just be redundant to go all over it again. So, with that said, this is the last, for now, tribal inspired look that I had seen photos similar to. This area should have been a bright blue, and it should have been a bright red going down the nose and mouth, and onto the cheeks, but unfortunately I just couldn't get the pigment to transfer today. It did not want to cooperate. But with all of that said, again, sorry it's a little bit short today, but it's not much to give you. Until next time, I wish you all brightest blessings and blessed be. Take care.